Hello, my name is Poliseno. Welcome to the real world of real estate. Today we're going to talk about time management. This is a skill that, man, it seems to evade the human race, but really affects real estate agents. And so I'm hoping to share some skills and strategies with you that will greatly impact how you handle time. And thank you for joining us today on the real world of real estate. I'm going to give you a quick intro and we'll talk to you on the other side. Welcome back. Again, my name is Poliseno, and thank you for joining me today on the real world of real estate. And today we're going to talk about time management, or maybe you've heard about it called time blocking. And I use both terminologies to explain it, but really it's a skill of taking your time and telling it where to go before the day or the week or the month begins. And a lot of times we do this with scheduling a vacation. We pick out when that vacation is going to be. We put that in our schedule, and from there we, obviously show up when that time comes. But we don't treat that our time on a daily basis while we're at work, especially when we're working for ourselves, the same way we do if we worked for somebody else in a job. We can all think back when we were not entrepreneurial and we worked for somebody and they told us to be there at 9 a.m. We showed up at 9 a.m. When they told us to take our lunch hour, we took our lunch hour. Or you think back maybe when you were in high school, you'd show up for your first period. When the bell would ring, you'd go on to your next period. And that's just the way we did things. But when we have this entrepreneurial seizure and we go into business for ourselves, we tend to treat time differently. And I'm not really sure why that happens, but I noticed that I coach a lot of agents. I'm a real estate agent myself. And for the first 7 years that I was in business, I was really a hot mess. I mean, I was late to appointments. I was late picking up my kids. They used to say I was chronically late to everything. And that was probably the case 75, 85% of the time, because I really wasn't managing my time very well. And I had, been used to being an employee and showing up when I was supposed to show up. Now it was all on me to to be responsible and manage that time. And I like to say this to the agents that I'm coaching or the agents that I have on my real estate team. Time and money have a tendency that if you don't tell it where to go before, the day, or tell that money where to go before the month begins, they have a magic way of disappearing. And so as you can see the time on the clock, it spins faster and faster, and life happens around us. It's always, life doesn't stop. It's going to always show up. So life is always there. We have to figure out a way to manage it. And so I'm going to go through some strategies here with you today in what I call time blocking. And so it starts with creating the perfect week. Okay. And you can do this on a really simple spreadsheet. And it's just basically laying out your work week and you can do this with your weekend as well, where you lay out your time and tell your time where to go. For example, in our business as a real estate agent, we have the 5 income generating activities, which is lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and practicing your scripts, your dialogues, and your presentations. So your buyer presentation, your seller presentation, your commercial presentation. And so each one of those things are 5 separate events or activities. And so the term time blocking comes from you actually saying, for example, using lead generation, which is probably one of the most important things that a real estate agent should have in their schedule. We block out 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and that's a block of time. We're going to use a color coding system in our calendar. Now, I recommend using something like Outlook or Google. I personally am a Google fan, so the Google Calendar, and then I use the Google Calendar app on my phone instead of the normal Apple calendar that's on my phone, because it synchronizes to my regular Google Calendar, which means that I always have my calendar with me. There's really no reason that if I'm out in public and I'm committing to somebody that I'm going to show up at a certain time or a certain place, that right in that moment I go and put that in my calendar. Now, am I perfect? Absolutely not. And this is not about being perfect at it, but it's about building the skill and creating a habit around it. And generally, we find it takes about 66 days to build a habit. So time blocking and the perfect weekly schedule. And so that would look like you taking your life, your entire life, and putting it into an existence system, kind of called a time block schedule. Now, a little bit about me. I have been a real estate agent for the last 17 years. I was with Keller Williams for 16 years. I'm with EXP today and building my virtual brokerage. So if you're interested in learning more about EXP, you can always click the calendar link there above, schedule some time with me. You can call me on my phone number as well. Let me just switch over here to banners and put my phone number up there for you. You can call me there and I will have a chat with you. If you schedule with me, we could do a free one-on-one strategy session to see that if maybe the EXP model is a good fit for you. We do also have a real estate team that is in Southern California, from San Diego to the beginning of Central California, called Bakersfield, as well as in Dallas, Texas, and Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts as well. So we're building and we're expanding into other states. So if you're interested in joining a team nationally or being an individual agent and having EXP as your partner, I would love to have a chat with you about that. So, well, this is my way of giving back to agents. The Real World of Real Estate is on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can find us all over the place. Smash the bell and like the video on YouTube for me. Helps the algorithm over there. And if you're interested in, learning more about as content comes out, that bell, when you smash the bell, it'll notify you when we put content up on the channel. So I was in the military before the car business. So I worked in the car business before real estate for 15 years in the auto industry with Toyota. And I was in the military before that. I have 4 kids. I live in the Los Angeles area, and I'm growing my real estate brokerage, as I explained to you. So I think I learned in the military to execute and follow directions. And I look at, the success that other professional real estate agents and top producing real estate agents have left for us. And I mimic and follow a lot of those strategies and habits. And that's why today, over the last 17 years, I've averaged about 35 to 45 homes a year in my personal real estate sales and have been building real estate teams since 2012. And so I think a lot of, what I learned have come from great books like The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And I have up on the screen here, The One Thing. It's not where does a habit start, it's how does it get easier. And The One Thing is a great book to build the skills around time blocking. I would say it's a required read if you want to transform your life around time management and time blocking, which in my opinion is the magic pill that so many real estate agents are looking for, that if they would just handle time management, they would sell real estate at levels that they couldn't even imagine possible. So check out The One Thing, read it. It's a New York Times bestseller written by Gary Keller, the founder and CEO of Keller Williams. So what we call BOLD, which is Business Objective Life by Design, some of the BOLD laws that I can think of that come out of that training curriculum that Keller Williams teaches is that if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. And what that's saying is that if you don't put it in your schedule, it's likely not to actually happen. And a lot of times we do this mentally. We say, okay, I've got to do this thing this weekend, and we check that off of our little yellow sticky pad. But if you put your everything into your calendar as if it was your to-do list, you'd be amazed at how much more you would get accomplished in a single day. So if you can just think about that, if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. And for real estate agents out there, it's not about selling real estate. It's about following a schedule. So if you can put all of the right real estate strategies and activities into your calendar, guess what's going to happen? The result is you're going to sell a lot of real estate. And you can actually control your average sale price. Think about it. If you put the right types of lead generation strategies into your calendar that are in the right sale price, you'll end up with a higher average sale price than just a random number. And so many agents just kind of, their average sale price is based upon the random transactions that they do throughout the year. So And then another one that comes to mind is what you focus on expands. So if you focus on time management, you'll expand in that area, you'll grow in that area, and you will transform that area of your life. Instead of being like me in the first 7 years of business, where literally it was a hot mess. I helped a lot of clients. I sold 36 homes my first year, but really, my life was not managed very well. I mean, it just, my real estate business flowed into my personal life, and there was no boundaries. And I'm doing a lot better at being able to manage those. So if you think about, let me just go to the next slide here. Another one that comes to mind is, you think about how a diamond is formed. No pressure, no diamond. There's always going to be pressure around creating a new habit. So think about that as a positive thing, that the more pressure what comes out at the other end? A business and a life, wealth, and a business that you can sell at the end of your career or leave to your family. So no pressure, no diamonds means, what do you get at the end? When you put that pressure on to create a habit around something like time management and putting your entire life into a calendar. So your schedule is a reflection of your goals. Without goals, you don't know how to prioritize. And that's an important thing, that if you think about it, that if you don't set a business plan at the beginning of the year and you don't execute on that business plan by putting it into your calendar in the form of action items, then you don't hit your goals. So another point that I wanted to get across to you is that either you control your time or somebody else does. Think about this. Sean Kokoska, my business partner, said that if you don't create a vision for yourself and stay true to it, you become part of somebody else's vision. So ask yourself that question. Do you want to create your own vision for your own life, or do you want to be part of somebody else's? So it's not in our general day, it's not a time problem, it's a clarity problem. If you sat down and spent some time figuring out what you want, and if you look up Webster's definition of success, it's getting what you want. It's really simple, but most of us don't know what we want, so we don't know where to start. So start with figuring out what you want and why it is you're doing what you're doing. Come up with a big why, a big life. Figure out, go through an exercise, write down 100 things that you want. You'd be surprised at what kind of a challenge that is just to write down 100 things that you want. And you can categorize them into business, personal, and financial. Okay, so it's not a time problem, it's a clarity problem around what you want. And as I said already, think about your class schedule when you were in high school. You didn't get to make up your schedule, they gave it to you. The bell rung and you went to your next class every time that bell rung. It rang a certain number of times. At the end of the day, it was time to go home. So, go back to that time and then treat your life today, or at least your business life, as it was back then. So what is time blocking? Let's have a quick discussion as we are right now, about what does time blocking look like. So in my life, I always start out with God and family first. I plug that into my schedule, and then I prioritize the tasks. Okay. Gary Keller said in a famous quote, "I guard my time fiercely, without apology." So you almost have to be this. You do have to be this way with your schedule as well. Think about somebody like Gary Keller, who, I'm with EXP now. Keller Williams is a great company, and I've never have nothing bad to say about the company. And Gary Keller has done amazing things. And if it wasn't for what he did, we couldn't have, Glenn Sanford couldn't have created at EXP what he has today. I personally believe that EXP is a better model today, but I spent 16 years and I gave 16 years of my business life and chose Keller Williams as a partner. So that's why I refer to a lot of the Keller Williams tools, is because I've embodied those tools in my business. But Gary Keller said he guards his time fiercely without apology. And that comes from a very influential person in the real estate industry. So the most important work comes first, and when it's it's done when it's done. Meaning, give yourself ample time to complete a task. If it's a task that's going to take more than 8 hours, well, obviously you're not going to do that task the whole day. You're going to break that task up into chunks. But lead generation, if you're trying to have 6 hours of lead generation, each day, 5 days a week, because lead generation is literally the most important thing a real estate agent does, then break that up into blocks. Do 2-hour blocks with a break in between so that you have 3-hour blocks. That's 6 hours. That gives you 2 other hours a day to handle appointments and other things that you're doing in your workday. But maybe I would say 3 to 4 hours of lead generation a day is probably the minimum. Maybe a little bit more if you're a newer agent. But if you're a seasoned agent or you've had your license a long time, but you're not selling, you want to sell more real estate, you're not selling enough real estate, but you've had your license 10 years, then yes, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for you to adopt a new habit. But that's what this habit will do, is it'll transform the amount of real estate you sell, because you'll put more lead generation into your schedule. And as long as you stick to that schedule, you'll get more done than you ever have before. So you want to try to limit all the distractions. And here's a quick strategy that you can use called the 4Ds. If something comes across your schedule or your desk, and you want to first employ the 4Ds. And the first D is ditch it or dump it. And that means say no. We don't, as humans, we want to say yes to everything. And you just can't really do that. So think about saying no first. Is this something, whatever this thing that I'm being asked to do or considering doing, is it something I should be saying yes to at all? And can I dump it or ditch it? So if it's not something you can dump or ditch, then the next D is delegate it. So if you don't have anybody to delegate, maybe you should consider adding some leverage to your business, like a transaction coordinator or an admin assistant. And if you read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it'll lay out all 7 levels of your real estate business. How do you go from level 1, where it's just you, to level 2? That's where you want to find out how to do that. And it's a complete model for your business. But inside of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, Gary does talk about time management. And so the second one, delegate it, just looks like you delegating that, putting it into your calendar, but putting it in yellow, because yellow is something you delegate, or yellow is a placeholder, using a color coding system. And the third one is do it another day. So that looks like you saying, what, I can't do that right now, but is it okay if we do that on Thursday at 3:00? Because I've got some time in my schedule there. And then going ahead right at that moment and putting that into your schedule. And then the final one, and this one is final because the fourth one, the last one, because it literally has the highest cost, and that's do it now. Because if you say do it now, whatever was in your schedule that you had committed to before is not going to get done. Okay. Now, if you're going to move something in your schedule, like especially like green activity, which is the 5 income generating activities that I gave you earlier, we don't delete those. We move those. So it's okay to move that to a different place in your calendar as long as you skip it. So it's okay to rearrange and be a little bit flexible here. And I also like to leave a little bit of flex time in between some activities. That may be 15 minutes, no more than 30 minutes of flex time. But leaving a little bit of flex time allows you to be flexible. So this is not about being super rigid and not being flexible. Okay. So here's an example of a worksheet that you can print out, and I'll put a link to this worksheet here in the description on YouTube. But the 4Ds you see right out there at the top, and what do your scheduling blocks look like? Events, family time, vacations. I even put driving to and from a location. If I've got a showing property in Burbank, I put Burbank as the show, showing property in Burbank as the appointment and with who that appointment is with. And then I also put as a separate event driving to Burbank from Calabasas, and then driving from Burbank back to Calabasas. So when I do that, Google actually is my friend, and Google sees in the calendar that it says drive to Burbank. So about 30 to 40 minutes before my scheduled time to leave, it tells me what the traffic patterns are like. So I am using technology to gain an advantage by using something like Google. The other thing Google does for me is I can go on my desktop and look at my entire week, and I use the Sunday routine and the evening routine. And let me just explain. The Sunday routine is just simply on Sunday, I have an event scheduled where I look at my entire week and I move things around, making sure I have no conflicts, and I make sure that I put everything that I wrote down on my notebook into my calendar, making sure I'm not forgetting something. And then I make sure I have enough flex time and make sure I have enough lead generation time in my schedule for the week. And I set my week up for success. And then on the evening routine, that is where I look at, before I lay my head down to bed, I look at my phone because I have my phone wherever I go. And I look at my next day and I just make sure that my day is set up for success. That again, I haven't forgotten to put something in there. And I sit there and I reflect on it a little bit, making sure I'm not missing something, making sure that I have enough lead gen, making sure that I've scheduled everything in there that's supposed to go in there, so that each day I'm doing that routine before the next day. And it's just a safeguard. So here's an example of what a time block schedule might look like for you. Okay, so continuing the discussion about time blocking, if we know where we are going and what we want to accomplish, this gives us amazing clarity on our priorities. Okay, scheduling time for interruption, this is what I call flex time, this is what I call white space in your calendar if you're using Google or Outlook. I personally like Google better because I like the way I can color code them. Outlook doesn't color code the entire event, it actually just puts a little colored dot on each event, and I don't like that. So personally, I use Google for my calendar, and I drive all of my scheduling through a link called calendly.com, which is a tool that helps me set up additional workflows when people schedule with me. And anytime people schedule, it goes right into my calendar, and it goes into the specific times, blocks of time, what I call placeholders, which I also put in yellow, into my calendar. So I when somebody schedules with me, I give them my calendar. They feel like they got options, but only those options are the options that I want. And so calendly.com, you can set up a free account, and if a paid account will give you multiple different event types for the different types of things you're doing, whether it's a team interview or just a strategy session. Like I told you, my calendar link is above. You can click that. And for a free one-on-one strategy session with me as a real estate agent, I coach agents internationally through a company called Icon Coaching. You can check out our coaching products at iconcoaching.com, which is also linked above. So, or if a team member wants to schedule with me, or if a client wants to schedule with me, I have a special Calendly link or event type in Calendly for a client interview versus a team member real estate interview. So finally, while you cannot eliminate interruptions, there's just no way to eliminate interruptions. You get to say how much time you will spend on them and how much time you will spend on actions. So be really intentional about sticking to your schedule, meaning if you put in lead generation for 2 hours, you are creating a bunker around yourself. And this is another skill you can learn in the one thing, this bunker mentality where you're literally building, locking yourself in a room with all the tools you need to lead generate and eliminating all the tools you don't need to, like sending emails and getting stuck in the rabbit hole of your email inbox. We all know that we have done this, or going on social media while you're lead generating and going down that rabbit hole called social media. So really try to resist those things. So what does the perfect schedule look like? And you can use a format like an Excel spreadsheet, which I will share with you again, a link to an Excel spreadsheet so that you can design that perfect week in really simple format. You can do it right in Google Calendar. If you want to skip the spreadsheet, you can use Google and set repeating events for that perfect week, what it looks like. And then on each Sunday, you're going to move things around so that it's not going to look real rigid, because obviously life changes and there's going to be things that you're going to need to move around. So use color codes for important reminders. Always schedule everything from the minor tasks to the major tasks as an entire event. Schedule your days off. Too many real estate agents don't take enough time off, and their real estate business flows into their personal life and they have no boundaries. I personally like having weekends off, so I work by appointment only on weekends. So those are my days off, Saturday and Sunday. Now, sometimes I do work a Saturday, might work for a few hours, but that's by choice. That's how I've designed my schedule. Okay, so set up a template, which is using the repeating events inside of Outlook or Google. Set up a template for what those things look like in your everyday and your every week, and then you can adjust them easily as the upcoming week or day, meaning moving them around, like I said. Because just because you set them as a repeating event, that just means that they set up as a template for your next week. Okay, so the perfect week might look a little like this. You got the gym in the morning, you got getting up, brushing your teeth. There's a lot of things that you do that are routine. Literally everything goes in there. Okay, and the color's a little bit off on here, but this is just an example. Now, this doesn't have any green activities. I'm going to go ahead and update this schedule because it doesn't have any green, the money-making activities, the income-generating activities that real estate agents need to have enough of in their schedule. Okay, so what are the 5 daily tasks? I talked about this already. This is the 5 income generating activities. You need to have at least 3 to 4 hours of these on a minimum in your schedule each day. Lead generating, lead follow-up and conversion, appointments, negotiating, and practicing and role-playing your presentations and your scripts and dialogues. So real estate is a contact sport. At the end of the day, it's a relationship business, person to person, voice to voice, face to face. Okay, that's what we're talking about when we talk about income generating activities. So I hope this is helpful. Hope you come back to the real world of real estate. We're going to do interviews with top producers on here in the coming weeks. We've got tips and tricks and strategies, lead generation things that really work. There's too many people out there talking about things you can do in real estate, trying to sell you that next greatest lead generation thing. But these are people that have never sold real estate. And a lot of these things don't work. I mean, it's a money grab. So what I wanted to do, my intention for this channel was to keep it real with you. So thank you for joining me today. I will catch you on the next video. And let me just leave you with a quick outro. And we will talk to you on the next video.